Welcome to the top 10, everybody. We're edging closer and closer to my number one favorite movie of all time, which you probably already know already, but we'll eventually get to there. But we got 10 more weeks of this, so let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's get to my number 10 favorite movie of all time, and this will probably be a little bit controversial to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I consider this movie to be one of the greatest movies of all time, and that is, of course, the 1988 Robert Zemeckis directed film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I know saying the words, one of the greatest movies of all time, is kind of a big thing to say, but honestly, this movie is so perfectly done in so many ways that I've seen done in some of the greatest films ever made, like Citizen Kane or Casablanca. I definitely consider this one of the greatest movies of all time. Summing up the plot real quick, you have Eddie Valiant, played by Bob Hoskins, who takes a case when famed cartoon maker Marvin Acme is found dead in his factory. Everyone says that the top cartoon star, Roger Rabbit, voiced by Charles Fleischer, is the one who did it, and Valiant has to clear his name, which won't be easy to do because Valiant has an extreme prejudice against Toons after a Toon killed his brother by dropping a piano on his head. Can Eddie put his prejudices aside to protect Roger from Judge Doom, played by Christopher Lloyd in the Toon Patrol? With the help of Roger's sultry wife Jessica, voiced by Kathleen Turner, his cab friend Benny, Baby Herman, and the Toons of Toontown, they stand a pretty good chance of clearing Roger's name. So what makes this one of my all-time favorites, and most importantly, one of the great movies ever made? Well, let's start with the basic stuff first. The story is well done, managing to put in the right amount of comedy, drama, and mystery to get you invested in the storyline. It doesn't fall into those cliches we've seen done to death numerous times in movies like this. The writers do a good job of bringing all these elements together and coming up with something really smart and really clever. You like a lot of these characters overall. Roger Rabbit is extremely likable. You like his chemistry with Eddie Valiant. Jessica Rabbit is, of course, good looking. And at the same time, the writers do a good job of giving her character and giving us reasons why we should like her, even in parts when it looks like she's not really helping her husband out, when actually she is. Judge Doom, he's a menacing villain that just, when you think he can't get any more threatening, the twist they have at the end, goddamn, like many kids who saw that movie when they were little, when they reveal who Doom really is, it scared the living shit out of me when I was little. I mean, talk about a twist that was personally executed, and you know what? There was a time when I thought maybe M. Night Shyamalan should look at this movie and take some notes, but then again, he's gotten better in the last couple of years. He's kind of back to form, but we're not here to talk about Shyamalan. We're talking about Roger Rabbit. And, possibly the best thing about this movie in general is that huge all-star cartoon cast they got for this. You don't just get Disney characters like Mickey, Donald, Goofy, all of them, but you get tunes like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Sylvester, Tweety, Woody Woodpecker, Bambi, Pinocchio, Dumbo, Betty Boop, Porky Pig, Tinkerbell, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner. So many of them are all throughout this movie, and they don't feel forced into this movie. They're not there just to be like blink and you miss some cameos to just kind of be there just to be there. They actually do serve kind of a purpose in there. They're all put in there naturally, and they're put in there in a situation where you feel like they're there to serve the purpose of the storyline. That last shot when all the tunes come together, coming out of the factory, and they're all in that same shot. That's one of those great movie moments. You see all these characters we grew up with in the same shot. It's just so much fun and amazing to watch, and it feels like it feels like your big reward after going through such an adventure in the last 10 minutes before that. Like, here's your reward. You get to see all your favorite characters in one slot there. And really, what more can I say about one of the greatest scenes of all time when Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny share a scene together when Eddie's falling off the building? I mean, two of the biggest cartoon rivals in history together in one scene. That's pretty awesome. You aren't getting a forced, new, updated version of these characters either. You get the old-fashioned Mickey Mouse and the old-fashioned Bugs Bunny. You see them both together in one scene, something that will probably never happen again. I mean, it's just a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and all this animation comes from Richard Williams, the main animation director who did an incredible job bringing these cartoon characters to life. Industrial Light and Magic also needs to be commended for providing that little bit of an extra lift that makes these cartoons look more realistic than ever before. They look like they're literally right there with them, and that's what's so amazing about this particular movie. And you could tell it took them a long time to put it together, and it really does show. I mean, this thing took nearly 2.5 years to put together, and that's why I feel like this puts Roger Rabbit up there with one of the greats. I mean, this thing started shooting back in 1986. 2 years before this movie came out. And then additionally, you have the animation process taking almost a year to do, because this was mostly still back when animators didn't use computers. Every single shot of this movie is hand-drawn. Just think about this. Nearly 82,000 stills of animation, hand-drawn. Had any of these drawings have been messed up, this would have been disastrous. And it nearly was. It's like if you watch Waking Sleeping Beauty, Michael Eisner at the time basically had to say, like, they had to stop, like, putting money into this because they were losing so much money off of it. And it's just like, it shows on screen. They're putting a ton of effort into this, and most of the effects had to be done on set too. The club scene alone has so much stuff in that scene that's done by puppeteers, and a lot of those shots had to be timed right in order to get it done perfectly. And scenes like that add a lot of pressure to the process, and when it's done right, it works. And a lot of these scenes in this movie work because of that. And lastly, and more importantly, I think this, needless to say, this is the movie that helped to relaunch the second golden age of animation. I mean, up until Roger Rabbit, animation had been kind of at a low mark at this point. You could tell that most of the animation coming out of the early 80s wasn't really as thought of as they should be. You know, for every sequel of Nim or An American Tail, you added a Care Bears movie or The Black Cauldron. With Roger Rabbit, it led to animation becoming reliable again, not only in Disney, but with Oliver and Company, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, The Rescuers Down Under, Aladdin, Lion King. But other studios started to take animation more seriously, and that's what led to all the great Warner Brothers shows from the 90s as well. You know, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Batman, Superman, Freakazoid, Pinky and the Brain. That's why this movie puts itself as one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion, because of how much Roger Rabbit had such a significant cultural impact on what would happen in animation in the years to come. This is a movie that comes around every once in a while, like, as Roger Ebert said it best in his review, it's a movie that comes around every once in a while, like an E.T. or a Citizen Kane, that manages to be a both overall great movie, but also a great film achievement. I give credit to Robert Zemeckis, the writers, the cast, the animation, the technicians, everyone involved in this movie for making one of the most perfectly made, perfectly told movies ever. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? My 10th favorite film of all time. So we're heading into the final stretch here. If you want to see what I said about my 11th favorite film of all time, that thing you do last week, go ahead and check that out there. And I will see you guys next week for the next episode. So I'll see you guys next time.